Judah, are you there? Judah,
I don't,
Yeah.
Walmart.
I see him.
Fran, we are live now.
No, I am halfway on.
Mr. Halberstam, Abe,
Not yet, not yet.
Abe, we're live now. And we have, it looks like Judah.
Okay, I'm going on. Mindy, I'm going live. Okay?
Mayor Gelli, Judah, and Halberstam.
You have Morty also.
Lieberman, Morty Gross is 5. We 5. Halberstam, Ribbiat, Lieberman, Gelli.
All
I think we have 5, Terry.
right, I'm back, guys. All right, what do we got here?
Abe, I think we have 5 members.
I believe that's the case.
Oh,
Okay,
now we have
1,
6.
2, 3, 4, 4, 4.
Count yourself, Abe.
Yeah, I did. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
That's 5.
3,
I think we're good. I think it's 6.
4. I got 5. I don't see 6. I don't see 6.
Like
Oh, Judah,
Frankie,
6. Yeah, we got Judah,
Lieberman.
Judah 6. Perfect. Oh, Judah 6 and Abraham Naftali.
I
Is
don't,
that who he is? Is that what this is over here?
it says Abraham, it must be Naphtali.
Yes.
And I'm here.
Hello?
Okay, we got
Um,
1, 2, 3, 4. Naphtali's here. Abe, good to go.
okay, give me a second. I just have to tell somebody that I'm in a meeting. Going into a meeting. Guy's buzzing me over here.
Fran, I haven't seen Hal Halverson. Was he expected
No,
on tonight?
I thought so, but I don't see him though.
All right, okay.
Okay, good to go. All righty. What do we got? 6? Do we have Mike Shingber or Morty Gross on?
Morty Gross
No.
is here.
Morty Gross is on?
I think so. I think he's one of the phone numbers.
That's not this one. It's not this one. It's not
Morty
this
Gross
one.
is on.
He's
Are you on phone or are you live? Are you on person or are you on phone?
I'm on the phone and I am live on the phone. It's not my
Okay.
ghost.
You're not a ghost? Okay, good. So we got seven.
I'll be joining in about 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. No problem. Perfect. Okay. All right. Jerry, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call everyone to tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting has been advertised according to New Jersey State Sunshine Law. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Gelli,
Yes.
he's here. Mr. Gleiberman,
Yes.
Mr. Halverson.
Yes,
Oh, you're here.
I'm here.
Mr. Shankly,
Yes. Here.
Naftali, Mr. Ribbiat, Ingber's not here, Gross is here, and Mr. Halverson.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
All right,
So
Ingber's here. Anybody want me?
Ingber's
Ing-
here.
Ingber's here. Perfect. Okay, so we have a full board, which we haven't had for a long time. We got 9 members on the board tonight. Wow. Okay. I would like to ask everyone to please salute to the flag And the fifth member will be Mayor Gelli.
I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
To the flag
of the United
of the
States
to the United States
America,
of America,
and to the
the
republic
Republic
and
for which it
which
stands,
stands one nation,
provincially
Under God,
under God,
indivisible, liberty and
liberty and
justice
justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, before we go any further, can I swear in Mr. Halverson so we know he's legal?
Yes. No,
No,
no.
Hal, I'm looking for you, but I don't see you.
I'm here. I don't know
All
why
right.
you don't see me.
Raise your right hand, sir.
It's up here.
All right, let's repeat after me. I repeat your name.
I, Hal Halverson,
Do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will try true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the laws established in the United States
and to establish in the United States
and in this state
and the state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly perform
impartially, and justly perform
all the duties of the office of a member of the Lakewood Zoning Board of Adjustment.
all the duties of a member of the Lakewood Zoning Office.
Now, when you're done, Hal, can you sign that oath and get it to Fran, and we'll get it to the township clerk?
Okay. All of this for one meeting.
No, you think you're leaving? Boy, you-
No, Hal. You're lucky. You're mistaken, Hal. You just swore the oath of the zoning board office. We're not letting you go so fast.
What was that thing in the Godfather? He brings me back
It's
in.
like the draft.
Okay,
That's
that's
it.
it, Chairman. That's all I got.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask over here. Can I have an approval for the minutes for the April 12th meeting?
Motion.
Motion from Moshe Langkry. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second from Avram Naftali.
Mr. Gelli,
Yes.
Mr. Halverson,
Yes.
Mr. Langkry,
Yes.
Mr. Naftali,
Yes.
Mr. Ribbiat,
Yes.
Mr. Ingber,
Yes.
Yes.
and Mr. Halverson.
Yes. Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence for tonight's meeting?
Yes. Jerry, do you wanna have a request from appeal number 4160?
Well, one second, before you continue. I'd like to make the announcement like I do every month. Whoever is not privy to this meeting, to please log off and to listen in on the township website. It's creating a very big backlash for us, and it's taking away bandwidth, and we can't hear all of the members properly. So whoever does not belong to any meeting, I would love to listen in, to please use the township website. Everyone else, please mute yourself so we don't have to hear any background noises. Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, appeal number 4158 was carried from last month. That was 1364 River LLC.
Yes,
I think Mr. Pfeffer may be around. They were supposed to revise their plans and get some information the board requested. I did not have
Correct.
that information, so they're off for tonight.
okay,
We have to decide if
Correct.
they want to renotice, go back next month, if they have the proper information that the board wanted.
so where is Mr. Pfeffer? If he's not here, we'll come back to it
He's
when, oh, there he
he's right
is.
there, he's there.
He's right here. Mr. Pfeffer, what do you have to say, Mr. Pfeffer? Good evening.
The applicant did not get the revised plans in sufficient time for Fran to get them to Terry for review and to the board members. So we would ask that we be carried to the next meeting, or the next available meeting. You tell us when, and we'll be on. I request, I don't know any reason why we would have to renotice, but I leave that up to the board.
I'll tell you what we're gonna do, Mr. Pfeffer. Since we don't know when it's all gonna come in and when the paper is gonna come in, whenever you're ready, you'll just renotice and we'll put it back on the calendar.
Mr. Chairman, he's going back under old business because that's already been heard.
That is correct, but because since we can't give him a definite time, because he can't give us a definite time when the paperwork will be complete, then I can't leave it open.
Okay,
We could have it in for the next meeting.
You will, or next meeting you won't have it ready? Jerry, I see you want to say
For the
something.
Next meeting. It's done. It just didn't get out enough time for this meeting. So I was told by the engineer it's done. They just have to print it and send the copies out.
Now, I think, Mr. Pfeffer, we've been accommodating. It was supposed to be tonight. I think if any interest of public wanted to know about it, it would have been tonight. I think you should renotice.
That's fine. I have no issue, whatsoever the board wants. I have no problem renoticing if you want. I would just ask to be at the next meeting, that's all.
Okay, so if you're ready, you'll renotice. We'll put on to the next meeting. Franny, right?
got it.
Just remember, next meeting we're gonna have, it's gonna be a very packed agenda, but it's going to old business. So we'll take it as old business.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, okay, so no motion needed because he wasn't even on the agenda to begin with.
Right.
Franny, next. Any other correspondence?
We have a letter from Mr. Christopher Quinn. Jerry, do you want to?
Yeah, let me take that, Chairman. This is
Go
on
ahead.
the temporary cell antenna, Diamond Communications, which is 4160. We received a lot of correspondence and telephone calls on Friday. Mr. Simon, representing some of the interested parties, objected to the notice that was provided by Diamond. We reviewed everything and we have provided an opinion that the notice was fine, was acceptable. And we sent a letter to everybody saying that. Mr. Christopher Quinn, who now is representing the applicant, has sent a letter to Fran saying, well, to be real sure, we're going to ask that this matter be carried so that we will re-advertise with a new notice. So obviously the clock won't start until we know the notices are out. I know that there's some dialogue as to when this application can be heard, since it was just adjourned tonight or today at the applicant's request. So with that in mind, it will not be heard tonight. And I think that the board should consider when you want to schedule it, because there has been a lot of input. There's a lot of attorneys, etc.
I'll tell you what it is. I have a couple of conflicting things that matters in my mind about this. Number one, I really think that this application, because of seeing what's going on, belongs in an open session. Having seen today's news with the governor coming out with new executive orders about reopening the state, and you could go back into indoors with 6 feet apart and all that and so forth, maybe perhaps our mayor will allow us to go back into the auditorium where we can have it. Having said that, I have another conflicting issue with myself, is that the fact that he's changing it on the very last minute, let him go back on the bottom of the list, and when we get to him, we get to him. So between these two things, I really conflicted as to when we should really hear him again. I personally would love to wait out and see if the mayor's going to open up the auditorium, because this is a very hot contested application, which requires the full auditorium. So I would like to wait off until July, if everyone here agrees with me, and see what the story is. Anyone want to chime in and say something? Morty?
Yes, Chair, I sent an email, and I think perhaps as a rule, anybody who cancels or wishes to adjourn their meeting for the following meeting on the same day, I think they should just be put at the end of the list. I think it's not fair for the public who comes, and I think we ourselves give ourselves a night for these applications. There's a big agenda. To come in the last minute, and now I want to start talking to the neighbors. Now I want to start working things out. I think it's too late. They have to, whoever cancels the day of the meeting, they should have to renotice and go back to the end of the line. It's an opinion.
Okay. Anyone else want to say something about this?
Yeah,
Mayor?
Yeah, I was suggesting that, if it's a fault of the zoning board or the township that an application can be heard, yes, we should try and get it on ASAP. But if it's out of convenience for the applicant, and because of that, there's many applicants we pushed off for June and July, next ones, it's very cumbersome to have to wait now and to do this. So really, if somebody pulls it off for their own convenience, they should really go to the end of the line. Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
The review letter for Diamond Communications was approved last October, was done by Jerry. So they've been waiting since last October from their review letter.
Well, hold on a second. That might be true, Fran, but they wanted to hold off the application all these months because they wanted it to be a live, in-person application.
Right,
And finally, last month, they said, you know what, let's just go forward with it now. So it's not like we held them up at all.
correct. I understand
Correct.
that. I just wanted you to know that.
It's just that they pulled the application today, which is what Natalia and Mayor and myself, somewhat myself, are saying. Does anyone else want to? Judah, what do you have to say?
The agenda would have been set up differently if they were not on.
Correct. We would have had more applications on it, and others are being hurt now. So others are the ones that we want to hear in July are not going to get hurt until September, because in August there's no meeting. So perhaps we should kick them off until July or whenever. So having heard what we just said, guys, make a motion. When do you want to table this, and when do you want to be heard again?
I agree with the chairman. It's my shame with that.
Yes, Moshe.
If it's a possibility that we'll know shortly whether or not we're going to be doing meetings in person, maybe let's just make a motion to postpone and we'll play it by ear and see if we're going to, if we're going to be doing live meetings, because that's what they prefer anyways.
Marsh, the only problem with that is the notice provision. They're going to have to send out new notices, and what date should they pick? So I think we ought to consider voting to accept the request to adjourn the meeting for new notices, but also tell them when the hearing will be so that they can put it in the notice.
If Fran can figure out when it'll be, sure, no problem.
We have two issues. Number one is the issue that I brought up about going live back into the auditorium. And number two, we have the issue what Mayor and Naftali has said, that it's not fair to the other applicants have been waiting, and therefore our agenda tonight wasn't set up properly, and we have others that we want to hear first. So perhaps we should just set them off at least till July, or the second meeting in July. I think there's 2 meetings in July. Push them all out until the last meeting in July.
July 12th and July 26th.
So let's pick July 26th, far out, and I guess we'll catch up on the calendar a little bit. Guys, what do you think?
Well, so that's it. A quick question. How long is the temporary antenna valid for?
There was no date on that.
Mario, I don't want to prejudice the application that would have to come. There's nothing in our ordinance that I recall giving a term, but that would come with the testimony. So we'll have to wait to hear from that.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I need a motion.
So when is the next zoning meetings?
In June?
June
we have
7th, July 12th, and July 26th.
So let's push it for July 26th.
Second. Okay, perfect.
1 second.
Guys, perfect thinking.
July 26th.
It's right before, it's right. Mr.
Who made
Gelli?
that second?
Me, second.
Naftali.
Okay, so we have a motion to carry to July 26th with renotice. Mr. Gelli and Mr. Naftali. Mr. Gelli,
Yes.
Mr. Gleberman,
Yes.
Mr. Halverson,
Yes.
Mr. Langkry,
Yes.
Mr. Naftali,
Yes.
Mr. Ribbiat,
Yes.
and Mr. Halverson.
Yes. Okay, guys, don't throw away your papers because the application itself will not change. So keep your file till July 26th. Anyone that's listening in onto this cell tower antenna, the cell tower antenna appeal number 4160 Diamond Communication has been postponed for July 26, 2021. Thank you. Okay, moving forward. Anything else? Any other correspondence, Madam Secretary?
Couldn't move. I like that.
What was that?
No,
No. Okay, so we're gonna go into new business. New business, the first up is 4175 Joseph Magid.
that's Coughlin Avenue, lot 1077.05, lots 27.01 to 2713, and lots 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the R12 zone. Use variance to allow duplexes and a synagogue R75 requirements. This is from Terry Vogt, January 18th. This is a variance application to allow duplexes in the R12 zone with the R75 duplex requirements. The change of use plans depicts 3 duplex, 6 residences, 14 single-family homes with lot sizes in the 11,000 square foot range, and a 5,100 square foot shul with 31 parking spaces. That,
I hear some background noise. What's going on?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Do you have an alternate that I can step away for 5 minutes?
Yes, Moshe Ingber is available. Moshe
Thank you.
Ingber? Moshe Ingber, is he here? Wait, 1 minute.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Moshe Ingber is the first alternate. Okay. Moshe, you can be sitting in. Mayor wants to just step out for a minute. He has to go make some pizza.
All right.
Okay, go make some pizza pies. All righty. All right. Good evening. Who's Mr. Magid? Anyone here representing Mr. Magid?
I am.
Good evening,
Samuel
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Samuel Brown, appearing via WebEx or whatever service you're using on behalf of the applicant. I believe that Brian Flannery is signed in. Yep, I see him right there, in spite of the fact that my screen is pretty small. But for the fact that this is a mixed-use project, we would be in front of the planning board. But we do have a component here that does require a use variance because at the Florence Street portion of this project, we're trying to match the housing that is in that area and across the street, which is duplexes. So on Florence Avenue, it is our proposal that we would have duplexes, and then down Coughlin Street, we would have the single-family homes, as well as on Vermont. On Vermont, there's also proposed a relatively large synagogue, which, because we wanted to accommodate sufficient parking, sufficient circulation, and the like, the lot sizes are reduced somewhat from the full 12,000 feet to give a little bit more room to the synagogue. We could obviously make the synagogue lot a little bit smaller, make the residential lots a little bit bigger, but we don't think that's practical planning. I'm going to let the applicant's professionals speak to that. I don't think there's anything much else. It's a zone which transitions between B5, which is across the street from Florence, and then eventually into zoning that requires larger lots. And so it was designed as such, where along Florence Street, we've got these 0 lot line duplexes, 3 of those, and then the rest are single family residences. I'm going to turn it over to Brian Flannery.
Mr. Flannery, please raise your right hand. Oh, there you are. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, so help you God? I think you need to unmute yourself, Brian. Can you hear me?
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, yes, I do. Brian Flannery, licensed professional engineer and professional planner, Jackson, New Jersey. The application as indicated by Mr. Brown is for a 5.16 acre property in the R12 zone. It sounds like it's an aggressive application because duplexes in the R12 zone aren't something that this board would routinely grant. However, this particular piece of property adjoins the B5 zone, and it has frontage along Florence Street, which has already been approved for duplex development for other applicants. Block 1078, lots 1, 3, and 4 directly across the street from this particular property was approved for duplexes, and further to the west, block 1077.
Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but any which way you can put that onto the screen so people know what you're talking about, because I don't see any exhibits, what you're referring to.
Okay, I will certainly do my best. I checked with a millennial on sharing the screen.
That's very dangerous, Brian, if you don't know what you're doing, because I've had some interesting experiences over the past year.
Brian, either bring the camera closer or the board, closer. Get 'em-
Or if you have it online, you can just hit share screen and it'll just pop right up on the screen. I'll be back in 1 second. Sit on this chair. Okay, I'm back.
I'm trying to get to the screen and
Where's your millennial that helped you that helped you? Oh, look what I got.
now, my understanding was these maps were delivered to the board members.
Yeah, but where people who don't have it can't see it. Or people who forgot to print it. Hold on, we're gonna do something better. Amanda?
Yes.
Hi, do you have the files available to your disposal?
No, I don't
No.
get any of the information.
Got it. Okay, I was gonna ask you to pop it up
They
on the
are
screen.
they are on the township website, which I had up, and I thought
Okay. Amanda, can you log on to the township website and find that particular file that he's referring to?
I can try. You're gonna have to give me a few minutes.
Okay. So
I
meanwhile,
will be
while
trying at the same time.
While Amanda's doing that, you continue, Brian.
Okay.
She'll probably have quicker luck than you will.
I certainly agree with that.
Okay.
So this particular property, it's located on Chestnut Street and Vermont Avenue. As everyone I'm sure is aware, the township is improving Vermont Avenue between Route 70 and Chestnut Street, which will increase the circulation in that area.
Brian, lift the board up at least a little straighter. I'm sorry being a pain today, but I have to. Got it. Okay.
Okay, so this property is looking northerly. The tax map is looking northerly. At the bottom part of the yellow is Vermont, or is Florence Street. Florence Street is where the duplexes have been approved, and it's my testimony that we anticipate duplexes being developed in that area. If you this tax map 143, which was submitted with the application, is Exhibit A1. A2 is the map showing the development, and these plans are drawn upside down with north pointing down. So I want to point that out. So when the board sees 3 duplexes along Florence Street, those are along Florence Street where there are duplexes approved across the street, and there's duplexes approved also to the west of it. So that would be the justification for providing duplexes on Florence Street, to have units that are consistent with development in that particular area. Now, when we look at the size of the property, 5.16 acres, for the R12, we're allowed a density of 3.63 dwelling units per acre. That would allow us 19 dwelling units. What we're proposing here is 20 dwelling units, so it's 1 dwelling unit more. And if you look at the shul that's proposed as part of this, it's a very large shul with 31 parking spaces. It's certainly a benefit for the area. So my testimony is that the benefit of granting this is to get appropriate development that's going to coordinate with the adjoining development, and development that's going to fit in nicely with the ultimate development of this area. The shul will be on Vermont, which is a major road. It'll have access to both Chestnut and to Route 70 when the township is finished. So that's the appropriate location for the shul as well. If we look at Terry's report, he indicates that we're looking for the 3 duplexes for 6 doors would be in accordance with the R75 standards, and the single families that are located on the rest of the property, which has no frontage on Florida Street, would all be slightly under the 12,000 square foot. And again, the justification for that is this allows us to provide a shul, which provides a benefit not only to the units that we're proposing, the 20 residential units that we're proposing, but it would be a benefit to the area as well to have a facility of that type located in that location. So as indicated, we're here. It's a bifurcated application. We're just here for the use. If the board has input on adjustments that could be made to this use, we understand we would not get an approval for any number of units. We would not get approval for anything specific. We're looking just for the use for the duplexes. There's also a question whether we would need a density variance. My opinion would be that once the board grants a use of the duplexes, the other bulk criteria would be subsumed by that granting of that variance. But we understand it would be an indication in it would be not more than 20 dwelling units. It would need to require a shul, and the board would have the full availability when we come back to make sure that we're presenting something in accordance with what we presented and in accordance with any of the conditions that the board would impose. So looking for the justification.
Brian, can I interrupt you, if you don't mind? I do want to represent to the board that this is a use variance, but by the same token, the applicant is willing to accept that the duplexes would only appear on Florence Street, where, as Brian indicated, it's appropriate, both for the reasons that there are the duplexes across, and all of the reasons that you're going to hear forthcoming. But the use variance doesn't give us the right to shuffle things around. Is that correct, Brian?
That is correct, and I'm sure Jerry would do a resolution that documents that, so there's no misunderstanding. The applicant fully understands that, and our representation to the board is specifically that. We're looking at this 5.16 acre piece of property and saying, this is our opinion of what's appropriate. We come to the board with a bifurcated application, so if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, we can do that before we come back. If the board acts favorably, we will be back with subdivision and site plan approval for full review by the board, and we'd have to provide all the documentation that we provide: adequate light, air, and open space, the proper roadways, proper drainage, all the other features needed to make this the nice development that we envision.
Excellent, thank you.
So getting back to my testimony, the master plan, Lakewood Master Plan of 2017 on page 2, under population growth, it goes into all the growth that's occurred. It concludes on page 3, and indicating based on this information, it's therefore important that Lakewood plan for residential development to house its growing population. And my testimony is that this is an appropriate density for the property. Per the R12, we could get 19 units. We're asking for 20 units. And the additional unit that we would get, in addition to providing housing opportunities that are greatly needed, also makes it available for us to provide the shul. The same 2017 master plan, the vision statement indicates encourage development and redevelopment based on smart growth planning principles. It's my testimony that this does this. It provides a shul, a much needed facility for the residents, and it provides a density roughly in keeping with the density proposed by the R12 zone. The municipal land use law, NJSA 40:55D2, under the purpose of the act, says encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote public health, safety, and moral safety, morals, and general welfare. It's my testimony that this does that. Under E, it says promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that will contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, and regions, and preservation of the environment. Again, my testimony that this does this. This property is particularly suited to the development that we're proposing because it's a transitional area where the frontage across the street is a B5 zone. The duplexes provide that transition between the single-family detached housing and the duplexes that have been approved in the B5 zone. Going through Terry's report, on page 2, he indicates that it's a use variance. We have to provide the justification. It's a D variance. To the extent that density is required, we would expect that any approval would indicate that it would be limited to a maximum of 20 dwelling units. Terry asked for testimony on the method of stormwater, and obviously we need to comply with the new stormwater management requirements. So there would be all of the stormwater and other engineering design features, if the board acts favorably, would be addressed when we come back for a subdivision and site plan approval. That's my testimony, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Brown? Any
I
other
think-
witnesses?
No, we do not. I think you've basically gotten a flavor for this application sufficient that if you have any questions, I'd appreciate if you bring it up at this point.
Yeah, I have a question for Terry. Not Terry, I'm sorry, for Brian Flannery. Brian, you know what my question is? Brian, what's my question?
Your question is, why should you approve duplexes in the R12 zone?
You got that right.
If I had to guess, I would have guessed that the question is why we don't propose duplexes for the entire site.
Obviously, I've listened to the chairman more often than you have.
And Brian.
And my answer to the chairman would be the same one that I give all the time, that the zoning board does not grant variances for duplex in the R12 zone unless there's compelling reasons. And I think there are compelling reasons here. I think this is similar to the few other times that the Lakewood Zoning Board has done it, in that it's on a street that's going to be a duplex street, and it's adjoining a B5 zone, so it's a transition. And I think for all those reasons, it's different than all the applications where the zoning board says we don't do them in the R12. And I think when you take a close look at this, you'll see that there are factors in this that are similar to the very few times where the zoning board has approved duplexes.
Okay, can I
Brian,
disagree with you?
Brian, it was also your testimony, if I remember it correctly, and I'd like you to correct me if I'm wrong, that the application ought to be viewed as a whole. And in order to provide all of what this application is providing, including the shul and including the residential component, which are single-family units, the duplexes comes into the mix such that this is a viable application. Was it not your testimony, something to that effect?
That was my testimony, which you've summed up rather eloquently, and I appreciate that. Also, I think if you look at the zone map that was done for this property, where the B5 line is drawn, if you look at some of the past maps, the B5 line was left the properties fronting on Florence Street Inn, and during one of the changes, the line flopped so that the R12 line was there. My opinion would be that if you have a street that has B5 on one side of the street, it would be appropriate to have B5 on the opposite side of the street. Now this is a matter of such small magnitude that I don't think it warrants, and certainly I don't think the township focused on it. The last master plan was 2017, and any of us that lived through that was the last master plan that I'm going to live through with such intensity. The issues were large in nature, and nobody focused on little items like this. But that would have been an appropriate time. And if Lakewood was like some of the other towns that has the availability to look at things, you'd say, well, Florence Street, we have B5 on one side, we should put B5 on the other side, and have a street that's consistent all the way through. So that's the justification for it.
Brian.
Yes.
If I remember, not too long ago, you came in with an application right on the other side of this, in the B5 zone that we should give you duplexes because it's connecting with the R12, and it's only R12 connecting, because in R12 you can't put in duplexes. And there was Sam Rabinowitz and the other guys that came in with, what's his name? The one that owned that big lot where we gave you the duplexes, because Sam is going to open it all the way up to 70 to have another outlet, right? It was yours?
You're right, Chairman. That was back in December. That was only
That was
5 or
back in
6 months
December.
ago.
So at that point, it was a little different story than what you're telling us today. It's, I can't really help it that this piece is in the beginning of where the B5 and the R12 zone meets. And that's how usually these things creep in. And then all of a sudden, everything in the B12, which is neighboring over there, will turn into duplexes. So if I agree or disagree with you, that's one thing, but I don't think it's conducive to creating duplexes. The zone line is where it's a zone line. We're gonna have everyone in the neighborhood coming in now for a duplex in the B12, which I can't see happening. So therefore, I'm not gonna ask any further questions. I just close my statement with that.
I would like to
Wait,
respond to that.
wait. Okay, I'll let you respond to that. And in reference to the,
In reference to the B5 zone and putting the duplex in the B5 zone, it's a very narrow area of a B5 zone that,
I'm not
in my
disagreeing with you.
professional opinion, is really not appropriate for highway business because it's not a highway. And that was my
Agreed.
testimony when we
I
asked for the
agree with you.
duplexes on the lots.
And that's why
The board found that compelling and granted them.
it doesn't mean that we have to now take that scenario and move it into the B12.
You
I'm
certainly
sorry,
don't
the
have
B12
to.
is where it is. The B12 is where it is.
You certainly don't have to, but the indication that now everybody else is going to be coming in, this is a very unique circumstance that there's frontage on Florence.
I got that, and I'm sorry I can't help it if the zone line is right there. The line has to be drawn somewhere, and I can't really help that.
You guys make these decisions. I give my professional opinion. And
Brian, I'm one of 7. You had a full board tonight to deal with. Okay, I'm only one of 7. Now, in reference to the 11,000 issue that we have over here, right? I'll leave that argument for other board members, but it's a B12. You can fit in nicely 12. You can fit nicely in 12,000 square foot lots on this lot. If it's want some a little smaller, you want to stretch them out. I can somewhat live with it. Maybe we'll live with that on the.
Chair.
Well, 1 second, please. Maybe I can live with that on the full site plan because it's bifurcated right now. And we'll see how it all falls out. We'll see what other board members have to say about that. But that's more or less what my position is. Who wanted to say something before? Did I cut anyone off that wanted to say something? Okay. All right. Fine. I'm done with my speech. Anyone else want to say anything?
Judah wanted to say something.
Hey,
Judah wanted to say something?
Judah, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions for Brian. I'm just not sure from the plans that I have is Conference going to be going? Is that going to be a throughway from Chestnut to
Florence? Yes.
It's a throughway.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not like it's going to be separated at any point. So my question is this. I see a bunch of lots that are all 11,000 square feet in an R12. What's the justification to shrink these lots, make them more narrow at basically 80 feet frontage, as opposed to, full 12,000 square foot lots and just have the ones on the end as 2? I mean, it seems like you're just shoehorning in to get in some duplexes in here.
Well, this is what I don't like about these virtual meetings, because I thought in my testimony I explained, but in these virtual meetings it's tough to do. But the justification is that we're providing a very large shul with a lot of parking.
Brian, everyone heard you. Everyone knows it. It's just that you're asking a real hard
Brian,
question.
you could have a shul with all that parking.
Judah, go ahead.
Brian, you could have the shul with all the parking and have 12,000 square foot lots, every single one of them without a problem.
And
you just shrink, you'd have one less.
And my testimony is that
you wouldn't have the duplexes. So
My testimony is that nobody's going to know that these lots are less than 12,000 square feet because when you walk down the street, when you're walking to shul, they're going to look like 12,000 square foot lots. It's a de minimis exception, and in my opinion,
I think people are
added housing.
people are going to.
But I gave my my professional opinion on the justification to do that, and that when you look at the overall project, I think it's a very nice project that when we're done, because we'll have the upgraded architectural features, we'll have all kinds of other stuff that'll be nicer. We could go to the planning board with an application for 19 units and comply with the density. And not have the shul and not have as nice a project. When you look at the project in total, it makes sense, but that's my professional opinion. You're the board. You weigh the benefits versus the detriments, and you weigh whether you think this is particularly well suited for what's proposed.
Anyone else?
May I add-
Yes, Jerry.
Mr. Flannery, your same client received approvals, as mentioned earlier by the chairman, on a bifurcated application back in December on property which I get the impression is across the street.
Jerry, it's not the same client. It's a different client. It's
I don't know
approvals with
about that.
different
The
clients.
applicant there was Yosef Majid, and I think that's the
Oh,
applicant.
yes, you're right. Yes. Go ahead.
But that approval for the use variance, the bifurcated use variance, was conditioned upon you applying for subdivision approval. Is that forthcoming?
Yes, it is. I'm the planner on this project, so I don't know the status of the plans. Mr. Schmuckler would know the status of the plans, but I would anticipate it's forthcoming soon.
Well, Jerry, he has to know how this one gets approved and how to make that.
That's my point.
I know. Okay, anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, I'll say something. Yeah.
1 second, before you continue, Franny, can you please announce the email address if somebody wants to send in anything before I let Abraham Tali move forward?
Comments at lakewoodnj.gov.
Anyone wants to send in an email about this application? It's zoning board comments at lakewoodnj.gov.
And I do have one comment from someone.
Wait, I'm not ready for your comments yet. I just
Okay.
wanted to go and give out that address. Go ahead, Abraham, continue.
Yes, I just feel that the way Lakewood is developing right now, just about every property we can claim is a transition property. I think the set of precedent to change R12 and make duplexes, I'm not comfortable with it. I think if you would come up with 11,500 square feet lots, and instead of that, you're giving a nice big shul with parking, that's something to consider. But to change from with a 7.5 regulations and to put duplexes, I don't see it.
Okay.
Open up to the public.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Franny, you wanted to say something before?
Yes, I received one comment from a David Goldberger at 255 Chestnut Street. He's just concerned that Kaufman Street should not be used as a detour. And then he just says construction should not begin before 8 a.m. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, but is Coughlin Street a right of way? Is that a paper street right now? Or is that a new road being cut in?
Right now, it's a cul-de-sac.
Okay. But that cul-de-sac was cut, but Coughlin Street itself is a paper street?
It's a paper street, yes.
Yes, so therefore we have to, if you want to finish the paper street, you can go ahead right through it. So I really don't understand how we can accommodate with that comment that you just said as a thoroughfare, because if it's a whole paper street, then it is what it is. By the way, that cul-de-sac, was that a subdivision by us, by this board for the R12? Was that a planning board subdivision, the current cul-de-sac?
Planning board subdivision.
Planning board subdivision, got it. That's by Mr. David Herzog, right?
No,
No, this wasn't David Herzog's piece?
it was done years ago by Dove Gluck.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. I thought Herzog owned that piece. Okay, it's irrelevant. Okay, any other comments? Did you get any other emails, Franny?
No, that's it, sir.
Okay, is there anyone on the line that wants to say something about this application for Yosef Maggid, appeal number 4175? Amanda, is anyone raising their hand that you can see?
No, I only see one phone number called in and I've unmuted them to speak if they wish to.
Okay. Okay, so there's no one there. We're gonna close it to the public. Can I have a final comment or some motion from the board?
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
some of the board members have expressed hesitation about approving duplexes along Florence Street in spite of the fact that there are duplexes on the other side of the street, the argument that it might become a habit in front of this board and so forth. My curiosity, and this is just a question, is whether or not their opinion would change to grant the applicant the density that it would otherwise be entitled to of 19 units, meaning 14, or actually it could be 15 single family and 2 duplex units, so that the applicant should have the opportunity to provide the shul.
Mr. Brown,
In other words,
we cannot answer a rhetorical question like that. If you have,
I'm asking the board, and specifically the members who expressed concern, if you will, or hesitation, whether or not that hesitation would be present if this application would change, because we could change the application on the fly if we had to.
well, Mr. Brown, if you change the application, we have to look at the application that's been changed.
Okay, I accept that.
Okay. Anyone else that want to say something, or can I have a motion, please? Anyone with a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion. I'll make a motion to deny. I think it's too aggressive, and I think that to set a precedent like that in R12, I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay, I have a motion from Avram Naftali to deny. Can I have a second? You're on mute. Hal, you're on mute.
Second.
I have a second from Hal Halverson.
Second.
Hal gave a second. Okay. I have a second from Hal and a first from Avram Naftali. Guys, remember, if you vote for this application, yes means to deny, no means to approve. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Gilly,
Yes.
Mr. Gleberman,
Yes.
Mr. Halverson,
Yes.
Mr. Lakewood is not in on this one. Mr. Naftali,
Yes.
Mr. Ribbiat,
Yes.
Mr. Ingber. Excuse me?
Yes.
And Mr. Halberstam.
Yes. Sorry, good night. Moving on, we'll go to the next application.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's our next application? Moshe Newhouse?
Jacob Mermelstein,
Am I holding the wrong agenda?
3174.
Jacob Mermelstein. Where's my agenda? Okay, got it.
He's at a restaurant in Williamsburg.
Jacob Mermelstein is in a restaurant in Borough Park. I don't know.
No, Williamsburg.
Williamsburg,
Not
okay.
Borough Park.
Who is representing Jacob Mermelstein? There he is. He's in the car. I see the lights out.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Adam Pfeffer, attorney on behalf of the.
Can you speak up, Adam?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Adam Pfeffer, attorney on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you.
Want me to
Go
read?
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to read the report?
Yes, please.
This is from Terry Vogt, January 2021. The applicant is seeking preliminary and final major subdivision approval, use and bulk variances to subdivide the 4 lots into 15 lots, which will consist of 7 duplex dwelling units and one single-family dwelling, and this is in an R12A zone.
Adam?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. As Fran indicated, we are seeking preliminary final major subdivision approval with bulk variances to subdivide 4 lots into 15 lots, which will consist of 7 duplex houses and 1 single family. If I can at this time swear in Mr. Flannery.
Mr. Flannery, are you there, sir? Please raise your right hand. There you are. You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, so help you God?
I do. Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey, licensed professional engineer and professional planner. This application, as indicated, is a 2.56 acre tract in the R12A zone. The R12A zone, if the board's not familiar with it, because there's very few applications that get done in this area. It's the Pine Acres area off of New Hampshire Avenue and sort of next to Leisure Village. This particular property is along the frontage of New Hampshire Avenue and in close proximity to Locust Street, which was rezoned. The area north of Locust Street was rezoned as part of the 2017 master plan to B5A, which the B5A permits business uses and duplexes on 8,500 square foot lots. The New Hampshire Avenue, as the board is familiar with, is a very busy county collector road. The R12A requires 12,000 square foot minimum lots and has different bulk criteria than the R12 zone. So it's different than the R12 zone, but it has the same permitted density of 3.63 dwelling units per acre. The only application I can recall doing in this Pine Acres area in the recent history was for a school on one of the streets, and the school was a permitted by right application, and the neighbors that came out to object said there's a lot of crime in the neighborhood and it's not a place for school. We shouldn't have kids in this area. To me, I'm very familiar with the area. I had friends that lived in that area and moved out, and it's an area that's really in need of redevelopment. And that's what the application that we're proposing about is redeveloping and providing housing opportunities in the R12A zone. We have an R10A zone, which permits single families and duplexes. The R12A zone, it's my opinion that to the extent that there's public sewer, which is available for this, and it's not available for a majority of it. So obviously, without public sewer, duplexes don't work. But it's my opinion that if the board were to act favorably on this application, it would start the redevelopment of the whole area, and it would provide housing opportunities for families that would then encourage other families to move into and upgrade the area, similar to a lot of areas in Lakewood that have redeveloped accordingly.
Brian, before you continue, I have a big problem with your paperwork. On your New Lines paperwork that I have over here, there are no numbers. I have no idea how wide, how big, how long, how dense these properties are. So in your testimony, if you can please fill us in. I don't see how wide are these homes, how wide are these lots. I'm looking at all the sheets, and all these sheets are basically blank with numbers, no numbers.
Well, my testimony would be that a duplex lot, the minimum size would be.
That would be, what is it? Not would be, what is it? What was the zone?
Minimum size 12,000 square feet.
Is that what it is? I don't even see a map.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yes.
This is Terry. You have each proposed lot is summarized on tabular form on the cover sheet on page 1.
Page one here is not a cover sheet by me.
All right, there's a major subdivision, Erica Road. I'm looking at the site plans.
Let me just see if you guys can see this. This is what I have at page one. You see? Nothing there. Empty.
I'm wondering if you got a bad print, Chairman.
You see it says page one?
It looks like you got a bad print, Chairman.
Okay.
I have the same thing.
I don't have, I also have the subdivision maps without any lot sizes or setbacks from the home.
Nothing.
Road
It's all
setbacks.
empty.
I have
You
nothing.
see?
I have blank lots with pictures of duplex.
We may have a technical issue with the print copies.
So I don't know. I really don't know what to do. This is called unprepared to me.
My suggestion would be that since the board clearly hasn't been able to review them, would be one of two things. Either we bifurcate the application and we just talk about the use, or we carry it to the next meeting and provide the board with the plans.
Brian, just a quick question. Where I have the UDO here, where does it say that 12A duplexes are permitted?
Duplexes are not permitted in the R12A. That's why we're here.
No, but I thought you said that the difference between 12A, you are the duplex.
No, they're not permitted.
The difference with 12A is the bulk standards, and it's mainly the width. You can have a narrower lot in the R12A than in the R12.
But nothing to do with duplexes.
Nothing to do with duplexes. That my testimony was with respect to the R10A, which is a different zone, and the R10A, which was a newer zone created by the governing body, allows duplexes and single families. And my opinion is that in this particular area, the R12A, where public sewer is available, it would make sense in that it could encourage redevelopment of an area that's desperately in need of redevelopment, and the redevelopment of a the part that is capable of being sewered would hopefully be the catalyst for redevelopment of the entire area.
Yeah.
But I think at this point the board needs to make a decision on whether they would prefer bifurcating the application or.
Okay, let me pull the board. Guys, you want to hear this application bifurcated? And then when we have the numbers come back or not?
No. So, Chairman,
What?
the question is then going to be, are we voting on having duplexes in the R12A?
That is correct. That's all we're going to be voting on.
So we can vote on that, but it's not.
Wait, Jerry, can I do that? Since he's not prepared, 1 second, there's some noise, background noise. Okay, whoever does not belong on the meeting, can you please put yourself on mute? There's a lot of background noise.
Chairman, to answer your question, this was not applied for as a bifurcated use.
Correct.
I think you can modify it if you wish, but I think you have to be careful.
Okay, so I have one no from Hal. Can I continue on that notion? Anyone wants to continue hearing it as a bifurcated or not? Hal said no. I got one no. Hal. Mayor, what do you think?
I think our attorneys are saying we should not do it, right?
No, he says we could do it, but we proceed with caution.
I would, if I had, if one of the other, Mr. Kelly, I would say do not do it.
Not do it. Okay. Okay. So if our attorney said not to do it, then we would move forward and we would move to adjourn and table the application.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion from Mayor Gelli to adjourn. Please come back with your proper paperwork.
Well, now, Chairman, are we adjourning it to a specific date?
I can't hear. There's some noise, background noise. I can't hear. Who is on this application? Who is on here that's making so much noise?
Chairman, are we adjourning?
Jerry, it's not your kids in the background, is it?
No.
Jerry, are those your kids in the background?
You wish. No, not me. My kids have flown the coop, thank God. Chairman, are we adjourning it to a specific date?
For the next month.
All right.
But next month we're gonna have the cell tower And therefore,
No, cell tower's not until July.
oh, correct. Next month. You're right. I forgot about that. You see?
For the record, can you indicate when the meeting would be in June, please? For the
June
public?
7th.
June 7th.
Let me double check that. Wait a minute. June 7th, Monday, June 7th.
All right, and is there an understanding that he should or should not make new notices?
Is he revising the plans? Do I need to get into more information?
He's updating the plans. He's putting in the proper information on the plan, so it probably should be renoticed because right now the plans have no information on it.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, the plans that were submitted, the board engineer's office had plans that didn't have the printing problem. So plans were submitted. This was a technical issue. We're not changing anything.
Yeah, my notice wouldn't change anyway by putting the numbers on, Mr. Chairman.
Correct. Okay.
May I recommend something, Chairman?
Yes.
Someone should look at the set of plans that are posted on the zoning board website and make sure that they're correct as well.
Add it with the numbers on it.
That's fine.
Okay, we'll do so. Thank you. Madam Secretary, I have a motion from Mayor Gelli. Can I have a second?
I'll second my Shingber.
Mashingba seconds to adjourn to June 7th.
June 7th.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Gillis,
Yes.
Mr. Gleberman,
Yes.
Mr. Halverson,
Yes.
Mr. Naftali,
Yes.
Mr. Ribbiat. Oh, is this
Yes.
Mr. Langley, are you in on this one?
Yes, Ms. Langkry's in on it.
Okay.
Moish?
Langley?
We had a motion from Moish Ingber.
Right. Oh,
So-
Langkry,
Oh, we
you're
have
right.
to
Moish,
keep it
you're
right.
right.
Okay,
You're right.
okay.
Good catch.
Good call. Okay, Mr. Ribbiat. Mr. Ribbiat?
He said yes.
Yes,
Mr. Ingber?
yes.
Yes. And now we have Mr. Halberstam.
Yes. See you back on June 7th. Good night. What's our next application?
Romo Canaric.
Logan Eric
Mr.
Hart
Chairman?
Street. Yes. Who's that?
It's Moshe Lieberman.
Yes.
I have a question for Jerry on this one.
Hi.
Jerry? What? Mr. Gleeman has a question for you.
So I have a child in one of Rabbi Kanarik's schools. And question to you, if I should recuse myself or continue listening to it.
Moshe, I didn't hear the first part of that. Could you say it again?
I said I have a child in one of Rabbi Kanarik's schools. But my question to you is, should I be recusing myself from this application or not?
I think you should. I think you should, Mr. Cleveland. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I recuse myself.
Okay. Appeal number 4176.
Hold on one second. Mr. Gleeman recused himself. I'm going to be seating. Who wants to sit on this one? Morty Gross or Moshe Ingber?
Morty can.
Hey, let them both. Hey, let them both
Yes,
sit.
go ahead.
Let them both sit because I can't hear anything on the Zoom.
Okay,
All
fine.
right, so
So,
I'm gonna sit out until
Moshe,
I get the I'll let you know.
It may help if you take those things out of your ears.
Mike Lanker, would you be able to sit on the last application?
What was that?
No, but Mr. Gleeman will be back for that.
All right. No, because the last application,
which one is that?
Crime insurance.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so I'm going to be seating Mr. Gleeman and Mr. Gross on Shlomo Chaim Kanarik's application. Go ahead, Brandy,
No.
please read it
No,
for the
not
record.
Mr.
Unseating Mr. Gleeman and
No,
Mr. Gross.
I'm sorry, I meant Moish. I got too many Moishes. I got Moish Pizza, Moish Ingber, Moish Gleeberman, another Moish. Who's the other
I'm
Moish?
Morty. I'm Morty.
You're Moish.
we gotta check the names before we get.
Okay,
numbers on.
where we
Okay.
are. Shlomo Canaric, 27
Shlomo-
High Street.
Shlomo Kanarik, 27 High Street. Yes.
782 lot 18, R10 zone to construct a new home on a 7,000 square foot lot, requesting variances for side yard setback. From Terry Boat, this was also January review letter. And I guess it's the same thing. Property is located in an R10 zone Single families are permitted. He needs minimum side yard setback, 10 feet required. He's got 8.75 feet. And combined, I think, was minimum side yard setback combined is 25, and he's got 17.50.
Good
Okay.
evening, Mr. Chairman, Adam Pfeffer, attorney on behalf of the applicant. As Fran indicated, this is a isolated lot application. It's a undersized 7,000 square foot lot in the R10 zone. We are merely seeking approval to construct a single-family house on the property. There are two existing variances. The minimum lot area, obviously, that's why we're here, 7,000 square feet, where 10,000 square feet is required. Minimum lot width of 50 feet, where 75 feet is required. The two variances that we are adding to this application are on the minimum side yard setback and combined. Property is only 17, I'm sorry, we would have a total of 17 and a half feet, where 25 is required. We're proposing 8.75 feet inside of the house. We could comply, we could make it 10 feet on one side, but the other one will then be 7.5. We think it's a better application, making it 8.75 on each side. I understand the issue is, why don't we just make a smaller house? It really becomes to the point where the house is just not usable by making it so narrow. We have sent buy-sell letters to the 3 neighboring property owners. I have not received a response from any of them. They were sent certified. That really, in a nutshell, is the application. I do have Brian Flannery here to address. I'm sorry, is Brian or is Glenn providing testimony? Glenn, I'm sorry. Glenn Lyons is here. If you can swear him in, I apologize.
Mr. Lyons, raise your right hand, sir. You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, so help me God. I don't think we hear you. At least I don't. Are you?
Sorry, forgot to unmute.
Okay.
Glenn Lyons, professional engineer, professional planner. The application we have is Terry introduced it. We have a 7,000 square foot lot in an R10 zone. There are 7 lots on this side of the street. This is the only lot. There's a synagogue adjacent to us on the, as you look at the property, on the left-hand side. And if you look at the plan, there's a line that travels from basically the front of the property towards the back. It has that little 140 feet on it. That's the edge of their sidewalk, the synagogue. All of the houses on this block have at least one side yard setback variance. Some have 2. Generally, they're more towards the R7.5 zone. There are duplexes all the way at the end of the lot. They were developed with the R7.5 standards because they have 7-foot side yard setbacks. So basically, we're keeping in keeping with the development in the neighborhood with the 7.5-foot setbacks. I think as I said, the minimum I think is 5 feet, and the probably the greatest is one lot house that's shifted way to the side. There is one 20-foot setback, but all the rest are in single digits. I think that allowing the variances keeps this house in line and similar style and size with the rest of the houses on this side of the street. The other side is all townhouses in the fronting on High Street to that whole townhouse development behind it with Windmere and Grassmere. I think this is no detriment to the zoning ordinance, as, like I said, we're in keeping with the other houses on the street on our side.
Okay.
That's basically our case.
Okay. Either Glenn or Adam, just, I didn't quite understand why we need to build a house. I mean, let me back up a second. I know we have to give you a variance because you have a buy-sell letter, and therefore we just have to, do something for you. I have no problem with that. I understand that. But why can't we make the house, 30 feet? Why do we have to go to 32 feet? And, make the house just a little narrower to get it within, a little bit within conforming. Take off the 2 feet and make it almost 10 feet each side. Will be nice. It's a nice size house. Everything's beautiful. What's wrong with that?
Well, as I indicated, if you going down the block, starting with the first house,
I understand that, but give me the answer for this house, not because everyone else has.
well, it's a house that's similar in size to all the rest of the houses that, have.
How about, are the lots similar in lot sizes?
They're all the same size. They're all 7,000 square foot lots.
And all the houses there have 8.5 feet between each side yard? All of them? All those new houses? Or they all, or
They have
wait, let me finish my question. Or are they old clunkers and old junks that have to come down?
No, they're not. Going down High Street, the first house on the block has total of 18-foot side yards. It's a fairly new house, probably built in the past 5 to.
Well, the first house is a synagogue. What's the synagogue?
No. The first, there's a house, then there's a synagogue.
Okay.
Not looking at the school property that goes all the way out to the corner. I'm sorry.
Correct. I understand that. Those trailers over there. I understand that. Yeah.
Okay, so lot 16 has about 18-foot side yard setbacks. Then you have the synagogue.
18, that's 9 on each side. Okay.
Right. Then you have the synagogue, which looks to be about 19 feet.
Looks to be or is?
Well, that's what I have on my plan. It
didn't. Let's put it this way. That didn't come to this board, so it didn't need a side yard variance. But okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I just reached out to the applicant. He'd be willing to go to 19 feet. So we'd have 10, we'd comply on one side with 10 and have 9 on the other.
Okay, got it. Okay. Instead of,
Excuse me, I really didn't hear that very well. Could you say it again? You seem like you're very quiet or very soft.
Yeah,
I'm gonna move myself.
If I could repeat what Adam said, I heard.
Jerry, Adam had COVID a few months ago.
Jerry, I indicated the applicant would increase the total side yard setback to 19. So it would be 10 on one side, which is compliant with the one side side yard setback, and 9 feet on the other.
Whereas, what would he need instead of 9 feet? 10 and 15?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You have any other witnesses?
The house would be extremely narrow.
What are we up to that? What would be the house now? Instead of 32 feet, what would it be?
Well, I'm adding
31.
31. Okay.
That's the applicant. That's the application.
Okay. Anyone have anything to say?
Open to the public.
Yes.
I have something to say, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Moshe.
I feel like deja vu all over again, like we're in last month's meeting. Hearing about an undersized lot, buy and sell letters to the neighbors, duplexes right across the street. We had, I believe the name was maybe Tulin or something, identical application, side setback, where the board didn't like it, and we denied the application, and I feel like be consistent.
Moshe.
That was a very different application.
Yeah, Moshe, I'll for this one, and I'll just help you on this one. That one was 4,000 square feet. That application was 4,000 square. There's noise in the background. It's making me sugar. That was a 4,000 square foot application, a 4,000 square foot lot with a 5 to 6 feet side yard setbacks. Here we have a 7,000 square foot lot, somewhat within the realm of things where there's somewhere close to 10 to 9 feet side yard setback. So it's a little bit different. you
It
know,
is and it's not. I mean, compared to
Yeah.
the square footage of the last lot, the house was also 28 wide. This is 32 wide. So I don't
You
know. I
know,
feel like it's kind of similar. That's my comment.
okay.
Let's open to the public.
Yes, anyone in the public on the line that wants to be heard? Amanda, can you unmute?
Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, our neighbor will allow.
1 second. Before you continue, what's your name and your address?
Nathan Rosenberg, 31 High Street.
31 High Street, Nathan Rosenberg. Our attorney is going to swear you in. Please listen. Jerry, you're on mute. No one heard anything.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rosenberg, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rosenberg. Tell us what you're going to tell us.
We're neighbors, and we're just concerned about what the outcome is going to be. Now the place is very overgrown. There's like trees. The lot was neglected for the last 10 years. Broken fence and tons of trees. So we're just concerned how it's going to look once we do the variance.
Okay, so are you in favor or are you not in favor for this?
Not really in favor.
You're not really in favor. Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, he's not in favor of a house. There is going to be a house, or he's not in favor of the size of the house.
No, we want a house. We want a place to be taken care of. We're just not sure if it's the space.
Of the what?
No, we're just concerned if the space, if it might be too close. The house can take away from our view, from our privacy.
The house is one side is going to be 9 feet away, and the other side, as of now, as we're discussing, and one side is going to be 9 feet, and the other side is going to be 10 feet. How far is your house now from your neighboring yard?
Mr. Chairman, I think ask.
1 minute, Franny. For Franny, 1 minute, Franny. How far is currently your house from your side yard setback?
I'm not sure. I didn't build a house. I'm not sure. I guess. I know. Was there a variance?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes.
Excuse me?
Yes.
As Mr. Pfeffer said, we're willing to, the applicant is willing to do 9 feet and 10 feet. I could say we would also put the 10-foot, which is the larger side, and a conforming setback in the zone on Mr. Rosenberg's side. So the 9 foot would be towards the synagogue.
Oh, that's the question. Do I want to have the closer side towards the synagogue? Or do I want the further away from the synagogue? I don't know yet.
It's only 1 foot.
It's only 1 foot. Doesn't make much of a difference. Neither side. Franny, you wanted to say something?
I don't have the map here, but if 31 High Street is lot 9 facing this house, is it to the right?
Facing the house is to the right. Yes. The one to the left is the synagogue.
She did call me. If you're making one side larger with more setback, you could put it on that side. I think that's what they were asking about.
Okay. The 1 foot won't make much difference. Okay. Anyone else want to say something? Anyone else on the call that wants to please chime in? Say something? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close it to the public. Can I have a motion or final comment? Or adjustments or whatever?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this application with the 10 foot on the neighbor side and the nice shul side.
Okay, I have a motion from Mayor Gelli. Can I have a second? I have a second from Judah Ribbiat. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Gelli? Yes. Mr. Halverson?
Yes.
Mr. Naftali?
Yes.
Mr. Ribbiat?
Yes.
Mr. Ingber?
No.
And Mr. Halberstam?
Yes. Hey, good night and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, what's our next application?
Crime insurance.
Do you have enough
Who's
members?
that? Who's logging off?
My chamber. Only if you have enough members. If you don't,
Let me see. Judith Vac. Yeah, you can log off.
okay. Good luck.
Good night. Is this our last application for the night?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Prime Insurance.
Yes.
It's appeal number 4165, 960 East County Line Road, lot 208.01, lot 16.01, R12 zone, preliminary and final major site plan approval for the purpose of constructing an office building. Terry votes. This is from February 5th. The applicant, Prime Insurance, has previously obtained the use variance and preliminary and final site plan approval to construct an office building and parking near the property's East County Line Road frontage via appeal number 3818. The applicant now seeks approval to reduce the footprint of the existing building to provide for access and parking to support a second two-story office building proposed in the rear of the site. A use variance relief is required to expand the existing non-conforming office use to allow for the second office building.
Okay, who's representing Prime Insurance?
Maurice Rosenberg on behalf of Prime Insurance.
Maurice Rosenberg, thank you. Good evening, Maurice.
Good evening.
And who's your witnesses tonight, Maurice?
We have Remington and Vernick Engineer is the witness tonight, and myself.
And Flannery.
Mr. Flannery, you're Brian, you're doing it? Okay.
Yes.
And Brian, before you continuing, I just have one question for Terry Vogt. Terry?
Yes, sir.
This is a project, before we get into the testimony of the project, I just have a legal professional question for you. This is a project with two buildings on one lot block. Is that something that we normally do? Does that need a variance? How do we deal with that? Because usually in Lakewood Township, I know you can't have two different structures on one building, on one lot and block.
I think there are exceptions. I'm going to defer to Fran.
Fran?
I can't find any place in the ordinance that says you cannot have two buildings on one lot. It used to be there, but it's not anymore, but I couldn't find it.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go to Brian, because Brian knows the book, Bahat. Terry, unmute.
Yeah, I'm unmuted, Chairman. Just want to add to what Fran just said. This is an expansion of the existing non-conforming use in that the existing building is also office.
Yeah, but my question is if it's two buildings or is it two different uses? But
Correct.
I think Terry was mute before, Jerry was mute before, so he lost his turn to swear in Brian. So let him swear in Brian and we can get Brian, hear what he has to say.
Mr. Flannery, do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, so help you God?
I do. Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey, licensed professional engineer and professional planner. So in answer to Mr. Halberstam's question, the ordinance actually allows two different uses on one lot. And there's no prohibition on two buildings.
My question wasn't two different uses. My question was two buildings.
Two buildings. There is no prohibition on two buildings.
There's no prohibition? Okay, I hope you're right.
I know I'm right, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, if we find it to be otherwise, we'll have to disqualify this whole application. All right?
Chairman,
Yes.
I can only give one address if there are two buildings on the lot. Because
Correct.
the post office, the computer and the post office won't have two.
Okay.
The question is it two lots or?
It's one lot.
It's one lot. Okay. Okay, so it is what it is. Correct? Are we ready to proceed?
Yes.
To be clear, Mr. Halberstam, Abe?
Yes,
Just to
who's
be
calling?
clear, this is going to be used by one person? It's not going to be a second owner or something, is it?
It's going to be continued existing use of Prime Insurance. They need a second building for their continued business.
Okay.
Okay, no rental. We're not renting it out.
No rental, no
Okay.
shop rental.
Okay, good. So let's move ahead with the application. Brian, go ahead.
Mr.
But
Flannery,
has the application been read, everything done? We're ready to go?
We're ready to go.
Mr. Flannery, can you hear me? Mr. Voigt's
Yes.
review letter says that it's the intent to reduce the footprint of the existing building. How are you going to do that?
There's going to be a partial demolition, and there was a plan submitted to show that. The original building was built on a much smaller lot, and it sat in the front. And the school on the property next door sold some property in the back. So they're going to be demolishing a part of the building to provide one-way circulation to get access to the back of the building.
When was that building built?
Thank you.
It seems like 10 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. I'll leave my questions to later. Go ahead.
Okay, so the application, as indicated, is for a use variance to allow an expansion of a office use in the R12 zone. The lot that it sits on, block 208.01, lot 16.01. When it was lot 16 and it was the front portion of the lot, it received the use variance. The applicant came to the board, indicated the nature of County Line Road and the impacts of the property. The school that developed to the east of them sold them a portion of the property in the back that they didn't need for their school building, so that the insurance, prime insurance, could increase and put a second building in to provide office there. Looking at the review letter, Terry indicates that it's an expansion of a non-conforming use. I should note for the board that the governing body passed an ordinance maybe 5 years ago that indicated that they added a conditional use to allow for business uses of property along County Line Road, noting that there was the R12 and the traffic, there were issues. That ordinance was appealed, and then the judge said, well, it wasn't noticed properly, and then there was an appeal on that, which subsequently the court now reversed it, and the conditional use is in place. The conditions of the conditional use, so you have to have 100 feet of frontage along County Line Road. This property has 99.67 feet. So we're in front of this board.
One second. This property or the addition has 99 feet?
This
the front
property,
building?
because this building fronts on County Line Road, and it has 99.67 feet.
I'm confused. This addition or the new building? A new addition or the
this
old
is-
building?
This is one lot. The one
I
lot,
understand that. So which building has 99 feet? The existing building or the new proposed?
both buildings are on one lot.
Not the
When
building.
you look at the
Okay.
frontage of a lot, the lot only has one frontage. The frontage of this lot is 99.67 feet. So it does not meet the conditions of the conditional use. So we can't go to the planning board and say we're conditionally permitted because we're 99.67 instead of 100. Now, the
Okay.
board knows I like to call things de minimis. I don't think anybody would argue with me that 99.67 versus 100 is de minimis. So I think in light of that, the board should look at the fact that this is a property that there is property behind it, and it's a rateable. And I wish Mr. Langkry was here because I know he loves ratables. But I think everybody that pays taxes in Lakewood should like ratables, especially when you have a property that has a office building sitting on the front. That office building is small in size. There's nothing overbearing about it, and it fits nicely on County Line. I drive down County Line often, and I see it, and I think that's one of the approvals that was granted that fits it nicely. To put a building in the back of it The only one that's really going to be seeing it is the neighbor that's the school that sold them the property to begin with. So I think when you look at the impact is very limited. So, but because we don't have 100, we have 99.67, we need a use variance. And the use variance, we have to show special reasons. The special reasons are the same special reasons that were presented when it was a much smaller lot, only in the front. Due to the unique shape of this property and the unique location, any other use of the rear of the property really doesn't make any sense. What makes sense for developing this property is to add the office. When you look at the fact that it's on County Line Road, again, we're in a two-story building that's going to fit in well with the other buildings that are existing on County Line Road. And you look at the balance, the positive and negative criteria. You're looking at the negative criteria, you're looking at the impact on the surrounding uses. And my testimony is there is no impact on the surrounding uses. The justifying and balancing the positive negative criteria, we look at the 2017 master plan. The vision statement says encourage development and redevelopment based on smart growth planning principles, such as a balanced mix of land use, pedestrian-friendly and transit-oriented environments with a sense of place. And we have that here. We have a small office that allows employees not to have to travel long distance to a different area. We have a rateable that provides for in my opinion, the only appropriate development of the property. The municipal land use law, NJSA 40:55D2, under the purpose of the act, says to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use for development of all lands in a state in a manner which will promote public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. And it's my testimony that this is the only appropriate use for this particular property, and it's a use that's going to complement the use that's there, and it's going to be compatible with the neighbors. If we look at the balance of Terry's report, the question was with respect to the proposed office use, and as the attorney for the applicant has indicated, it's for an expansion of this particular property owner. So the property owner is going to own both buildings, and it's in order to expand his business in a method that fits well with the property that's there. Number two is the rear office will be the same prime insurance. The item 3 is the difficult one, and we were already asked about the impacts to the existing building when they do the demolition to make it so that they can drive around a building, and it's going to be inconvenient. It's sometimes in life there's inconveniences. But it's not something that it hasn't been done before, and it's not something that there aren't methods to do that. With respect to the on-site circulation, we showed the box truck can get in and out. Again, it's prime insurance. They don't need any large vehicles going in the back. You know, it's going to be a FedEx delivery. And in addition, since it's their office building, any of the deliveries that would be problematic, they can take the deliveries in the front. The trash is provided in the front. The trash has worked. It's private trash hauling, and it will continue to work. The HVAC equipment will be shielded just like it is on the front building. And the buildings will be ADA compliant and
Will the HVAC be on the roof or on the sides?
The HVAC system would be on the roof.
Brian, did I just hear you said it'll be on the roof?
Yes.
Last time we had it on the roof, and you came back, you wanted to put it on the side. It doesn't fit on the roof. We made a mistake. We couldn't get it onto the roof. We had all wonderful things. So I give you an opportunity now to correct that statement if you tell me otherwise.
Architecturally on a building, it can be. My testimony is that it can. In the rear yard here, it doesn't impact anybody. If the applicant wants to put it in the back, I don't see where anybody would be impacted.
Okay, so let's ask so Terry, ask your question. Is the air conditioner gonna be on the roof or on the side? What's the answer? Where are we putting the air conditioners?
Wait,
I
Terry's
think I heard
question,
that.
Not Terry, Jerry. I always get it first. I know. Jerry, is your question. Is it gonna be on the roof or on the side? Last time you said on the roof, and then you wanted to come back with a variance for it on the side.
well, we're not going to request the variance for it. As part of resolution compliance, we will provide a properly screened HVAC unit.
So again, answer Jerry's question, on the roof or on the side? Or you tell me, an answer that I don't know at this point is an answer too.
Well, the plan at this point is on the roof, but my testimony is that there is no adverse impact to putting on the side, and it can be done there and comply.
I'm not a judge, but I just wanted to hear if it's on the roof or on the side. Okay,
Well, at this point, the plans show that the HVAC units will be on the roof.
good.
So-
So we're gonna leave it as such that it's on the roof. Fine. That's all. Next, go ahead.
The other items in the report will comply if the board acts favorably.
Okay. I have just a couple of questions. I know I heard testimony before that the new building will not be rented. It'll be used for prime insurance and prime insurance only. How about the front building? Are they moving out of the front and moving to the back and renting out the front?
As of now, not. They're going to be keeping the entire building for themselves.
He's planning on keeping both buildings for himself? But he
Yes.
will rent, but he
Yes.
eventually will rent them out. And we don't know what kind of tenants are coming in on the front or.
As of now, no. The rate,
Excuse me?
the rate that he's going at this point, he'll be occupying both buildings in their entirety.
Okay, the rate that he's going now, okay. The trash pickup will remain in the front, right there where it is, in the front right corner?
Yes.
Fine. And is that big enough for adding the trash for the new building, or is he gonna need a bigger trash enclosure? And therefore it won't work?
He'll need to pick it up more often, but he does not need a bigger trash.
I didn't think of that answer, he'll need to pick it up more often. Okay. I forgot about that answer. Okay, parking. Did we give you a parking variance last time for the front building? And are you remaining with the same amount of parking for the front? And therefore you still need a variance, or are you gonna have enough parking according to the legal amount in the front and the back?
We have enough parking for the legal amount for the front and the back. The required parking is 39 spaces and we're providing 47. So,
Wow, you're generous.
Well, it's a owner occupied building. He wants to make sure he has enough parking.
But as of now, the rate is that we're not renting them out. Oh, that's what I heard before. But because if we rent them out, we're gonna have a problem with parking. I just want to make sure later on.
47 parking spaces are provided where the ordinance calls for 39.
Okay.
How many do they have now?
Excuse me?
How many parking places do they have now?
There's 16 parking spaces now.
On 3,000 square feet.
Yeah.
What is it? Terry, it's 1 per 300, right?
It's now 1 per 250.
250?
Correct.
Okay.
So they're doubling and they're giving much more parking than that.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Parking is staying, our trash is staying. We spoke about that. Okay, go ahead. I have no further questions.
Is there going to be, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go
Can I cut
ahead.
in?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you have it listed as a two-story building in the front and a two-story building in the back. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, now the front building is not really a two-story building. It's only one floor with a basement. Is that correct?
No, I think there is a full two-story building in the front.
Is it, Brian?
I haven't been in the building, so
Okay, but it happened. I remember this application. I believe they built a very tall building and it's one floor with a basement. Is the owner here? Is the Mr. Rosenberg? Can you attest to that?
Yeah, there is a basement. Yes, there is a basement in the building.
That was my question. Is there a second floor to the front building?
The front building, the main floor is the upstairs floor, downstairs is a big empty basement, which has some cubicles.
Okay, so is there a second floor, a basement and one floor? Is there also a second floor?
No, a basement and one floor. Well, that's it.
Okay,
There's
so
two floors,
the
a
back
basement and an
building, you're
upstairs.
now, for the back building, you're now requesting 2 floors and the basement, is that correct?
I don't know, Brian?
I have the plan. Yes, 2 floors and a basement.
Okay, so that's not the same as the front building. The front building, remember, you're listing it a 2-story building, so you're building a full 2-story building with a basement.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand this.
And are we, by the way, in the basement, what are we doing with the basement of the new building?
It's for utilities and storage.
And what side, I don't have, the basement plan here, but do we have a full height ceiling in the basement or just a regular, a regular, 7 foot, 6 foot, basement? What do we got in the basement? How high is the ceiling in the basement? What's the finished floor in the basement? The standard 7 feet basement height, or are we going to 10 feet, 11 feet? I don't see it on the plan.
The plans do not. Oh yeah, the plans are showing. 9 foot 4 inches from the finished first floor to the second floor, so that would be roughly an 8 foot high basement.
Okay. Roughly can be 9 also, but okay. What else? Anyone else? Okay, Terry?
Chairman, if I could ask a question?
Yes.
Brian, going to page 6 of our letter under landscape and site buffers. You're proposing parking lots, pretty much up to the property lines. The property on the, I guess would be the west side, lot 15 is residential. If required by the board or by the public, would your client be amenable to putting in fencing? That's the buffer.
By the way, that brings me to another question. There's no buffer at all between commercial and residential. So maybe we should do something more, at least by the parking areas.
We've got room to put fencing in, barely.
Excuse me?
He has room based on the current site design to put fencing, to put fencing on the perimeter.
Right.
There is a landscape plan, this landscape plan sheet 6, if the board wants to look at it. But in terms of buffer, based on the current design, at least perimeter buffer, he's pretty much limited to doing fence. I'd recommend 6 foot solid, at least.
Solid white, the 6 foot solid white fence, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna throw this out to fellow board members if they're gonna look at this, because there is no buffer between residential and commercial. If they want to see something there more than just a fence. And if anyone on the board wants to chime in on that, please do.
Was Terry just saying that there wasn't any room for anything more than a fence?
That is correct.
Based on the submitted design, that's correct.
I think we would want to have at least trees.
But then you're losing parking.
Terry, what's there now?
Well, what's there? You don't have anything behind the existing building and parking lot.
It's trees.
Right now it's woods.
You have undeveloped area. And right now you've got a parking design, which is well intended. The applicant's trying to give you adequate parking. As a result of doing so, you're up to both property lines. And the question I'm bringing up in terms of the parking is dealing with perimeter. based on the current design, you don't have room. I don't see room to put anything else in besides fencing. If
Terry,
you want to have,
there therefore now be a sideline setback issue? If they're right up on the property?
that was
Terry,
the
what's
cost
in the
of
front
the
building?
application.
I didn't hear that.
Ryan, do you want to handle that?
Well, there's, we need relief from the buffer for that. And if you look you know, I have Google Earth up. If you look at the property next door, that's the residential property, they have a building in the back and they have a lot of parking and they have a big parking area. So I'm not sure what the use is. But then behind that, where our parking is going, they have trees. It would seem to me that it's not impacting anybody. And the 6-foot solid fence that Terry commended would provide buffering. And I think also the neighbors have been noticed if a neighbor is concerned with it, I'm sure we would hear from the neighbor what they felt with respect to the proposed plan.
Yeah, there's two adjoining residential properties. If you look at sheet 1, the larger of the two is on the west side. That's the lot 15.
That's the one that's
That
more
would be
concerned.
mostly impacted. The
Correct.
second one is immediately east near East County Line Road is lot 17. Now you have an existing building and existing parking that comes up to the edge of that property now. At the discretion of the board, you could put perimeter fencing on both areas if you want to allow this design concept and this parking concept. Of the two properties, you know, I'm thinking lot 15 is more impacted because of the existing conditions, but you could request that along both lots.
Let me try again. Is the building now right up to the sideline, to the common boundary line?
The proposed parking is up near the property lines, not the buildings.
Oh, I thought somebody said the building was.
No.
No, the house next door, which I have on Google Maps, on both sides is an old house. So we can't bring proof that the old house is what it is.
Yeah, those properties are residentially zoned, Chairman.
Yes.
They could be developed, obviously, in the future.
Correct.
As residential.
Correct. So the question is very simple, the way Terry is saying it, that if we can't put in a buffer, maybe the project doesn't fit and maybe it shouldn't be approved. That's basically what we're looking at.
Or alternatively, the buffer for perimeter purposes is the fencing.
Well, or alternatively, the building becomes more narrow.
If the building shrunk, the parking demand would shrink.
Correct.
So you would have latitude to do something.
Correct. Before we continue the discussion, I wanted to ask Brian or Maurice, why didn't they take this building and attach it to the front building, so therefore it won't create that much of an issue, because it will be further in the back, the parking and everything will be more in the back. Just curious, just asking.
Well, I would think in looking at it that this makes more sense because if you push it to the back, you're going to need more impervious to get that. Also, when you look at the back of the property, just like you have now, where the back of the building has some grass behind it, and then there's woods, and when we're looking at the buffer to the adjoining properties, both of the adjoining properties have the buildings up front, and they both have the existing parking lot without providing any buffer other than what appears from Google Maps to be a fence. And we would propose to do the same thing. The rear of both of these properties.
But remember, the adjoining properties are old homes, slated to be redeveloped.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can I just point out that I'm looking at Google Maps and it looks like right now there are arborvitae on both sides of the prime insurance building.
I saw that,
I don't know
yes.
how far back it goes, but
I saw that.
you're proposing to knock all that down so that way you can have access to the back. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's trying to get to the back to create a driveway over there. She's got to clean all that out so you can create the roads. If you look at your variance map,
How wide is the road that goes to the back, Brian?
It's 12 feet in each direction.
It's I can't really see from it. It's two-way.
No,
Both
it's
ways?
one way. The right side of the
one with
building is one way to the back, and the left side of the building is one way to the front, and they're 12-foot aisles.
Terry, I just have a question for you. Can it be? I don't really know how wide my car is or anything like that. But can it safely be made thinner, or because of the garbage, it's going to be a problem, or what?
When you say space, Morty, are you talking about the drive lane?
Yeah.
The width.
The width.
Drive lanes, single, excluding emergency vehicle access, which is going to be an issue here. If it's, residential, car size, truck size only, the minimum would be 12 feet. Preference would be 15 to 18. The question would be, how far down could you take that lane width and still maintain emergency access to the building in the back? In other words, if you have a fire back there, if you had to get a truck in between the buildings, do you have room?
So what's the width of a fire truck?
I just Googled it.
They vary.
what's the
Each
answer?
company has their own sizes.
Yeah, it
We
could be
typically-
8 feet wide.
If you want to know the width of
I think
We typically try to get input from the fire district, either prior to or as a condition of approval.
the width of a fire truck in Jerusalem is about 5 feet.
They're a little bigger in America, Chairman. I can't tell you exactly how much, but I feel pretty good about that.
Well, that's the width of a fire truck, 5 feet in the old city of Jerusalem, not in the regular Jerusalem.
Chairman?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Judah. Yeah,
Yes, Judah.
I'm just finding it, talking about the emergency vehicles, just thinking whether it's an ambulance, a fire truck, I think just the turnaround, getting in and out with all those turns and narrow turns, I think that's a problem. I think they have to do something with this. I don't see this as
didn't even
a
think of that.
viable. Pardon me?
I didn't even think of that.
Look at the way that everything is turning, and you come in, it turns to the left, it goes straight. I mean, this is really tight. If you want to save, if you want to get an ambulance in here, or you want to get in a fire truck or two, I mean, and then cars, it's a one-way, cars going in and out. I see this as a potential real danger hazard here.
Well, we could certainly.
They're an insurance company.
Pardon me?
Excuse me?
I said it's a good thing they're an insurance company.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with them doing two buildings if they could fit it in, but I don't like this layout. I'm not comfortable with it.
I would rather see the front building attached to the back, the two buildings attached, and then figure out how to make it all work.
You're still going to have the lane access unless they do some construction on their building. They made a very pretty building. It's a pity.
We could certainly get input from traffic and safety and from the fire commissioners with respect to the layout. My testimony is that on state highways, the lanes are 12 feet wide. So as far as can a vehicle get in there, yes. We showed a turning movement for a 30-foot box truck. So an ambulance can certainly get in there without a problem. And the fire truck, the reality is the fire truck's not going back there if there's a fire. The fire truck's going to pull into the first lot and they're going to run hoses.
Excuse, well, one second. One second.
I think if it's a fire truck, if there's a fire truck or ambulance coming to help you, I don't think you'd be comfortable with this.
I wouldn't, Brian,
I would be comfortable.
I would agree and disagree with you, Brian, that if an ambulance, yes, I would say we can work in there, but if a fire truck has to get in, you're gonna tell, hold on, Mr. Fire Truck, you go next door and come around. No.
Brian, would you move your offices there?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Oh,